Hey guys! Psycrafter here, and today I am back for another podcast episode. Sorry, my brain is momentarily preoccupied. Because I like to check out birthdays coming up, and we don't really have one coming up for a while. Like, we do have on August 21st, Rika Furude's birthday. But other than that, I think we're good for birth at the moment. Also, still got this being worked on. Didn't do much in the last week. I've decided just to keep the shape as it is. Actually, it almost looks exactly like it. Just needs a bit more, like, volume at the back, but I've just decided I'm going to keep it like so. Anyways, we have 13 episodes to get through, which is a lot. So we better get a start on. Starting off with episode 13. Where we're back to normalcy in the world. Simon's trying to entice more customers to Russian sushi, which is actually the name of the place. But under this normalcy of Ikebukuro, the slasher has taken another victim, and people stage protests against the slasher. It's been 6 months since Mikado's dollars gathering, and the news speculates that the slasher attack started around that time. Students look upon Seiji and Mika during lunch, curious about their relationship because they've just suddenly come back to school and they're always together. While Seiji notes that their love is fake. Man, that's gonna suck. Kita is also looking down at them, jealous of their relationship, so Mikado says to not look at them, and Kita responds that it's part of boys' DNA to engage with pretty girls. Yeah. If you're a sleaze. To back up his point, Kita hits on Ari again, mentioning that he thinks about how can Ari be so erotically cute. Mikado stands up for Ari, saying she's not erotic, but still says she's cute, with both of them embarrassing Ari. Ari's focus in the moment is caught by some other male boys enjoying a pushy boya book. I overanalyze and use Google Translate to figure that out, by the way. Why is it so dark? I wish that light would work. Which is it's focusing on something about the slasher, though, not the how bad it, like the type of book it is. Encountering Mr. Nasajima in an awkward stare, Kita intervenes, forcing him to leave Ari alone. Out in the town, Shizuo and Tom see Erika and Walker leaving an anime store, with their anime shopping, which is an actual store in the area. Like, Ikebukuro is an actual city in Japan, and a lot of the locations that they use are actual locations in Ikebukuro, or around Ikebukuro. The store displays posters for 2010's Sound of the Sky and Baccano. At the same time, Salty is also riding her bike a lot more often, allowing Walker to reference Haruka Nojisaka from Nogisaka Haruka no Himisu. With her secret out, more people are focused on her when she rides by on her bike, and now the police are constantly chasing her. The police corner Celty in the parking lot, unfazed by her supernatural abilities and calling her a monster look-alike. Celty does manage to get home to Shinra, hugging him deeply, explaining she's terrified of the police, and barely escaping before being snuck up on by one particular traffic cop, Konosuke Kuzuhara, who was actually introduced in the OVA episode that I covered at the end of last podcast. She says she was too conceited, apologizing for being so, and that she'll live modestly, which surprises Shinra. He's like, this guy scared you good. Shinra has his own thing going on, asking Celty to meet his dad, the one that experimented on her 20 years ago. Although it was consensual, so no bad feelings, I guess. Shinra's dad is currently being held up by 3 random guys commenting on his attire of a lab coat and dust mask. He says that Tokyo's air is dirty and uses it to roast one of the guys about his face. When Bandana Guy pours his drink over Shinra's dad's head, he prepares to fight only to be grabbed by the collar and finger stabbed. His bold action was only because Celty was there, and with their attention on her, she tried typing something only for Harada to smack her phone away. Remember Harada, he's gonna be important. Celty rightfully gets mad, her shadow weapon spreading to the guys to terrify them into running away. Oh, by the way, I wonder what Nami's been up to, because she's got a new job as a secretary for Izaya. Secretary being in quotation marks. And upon seeing the game board with a knight piece, a reversey piece, and the king general piece for a shogi game, she's left wondering, like, what kind of rules is Izaya using for this game that he has going on his board? Speaking of Izaya, he's meeting up with Simon, who notes he's been in Ikebukuro a lot more often, and shows that Izaya knows Russian. Always worthwhile to know your languages. Kita is still going on about Ari's eroticism. I think I butchered that word. Eroticism. Wanting Mikado to engage in talking about stuff they like about Ari. Meanwhile, the narrator knows that Ari was only around to make Mika look good, but she was fine with that. But without that place, she's been unable to find a new one for herself. I personally think this narrator is actually supposed to be like at this point, I would think Saika, but considering later, I think it actually might be someone more in line of Kasane, which is a character introduced way later in the story. Because I don't think it's supposed to be Henri. Henri has a particular voice about her. Without that place, she's been unable to find a new one for herself. Keita certainly suggests the 3 of them should go pick up girls to prove how erotically cute Henri is. We was thinking that, being that with Henri present, girls will go for him in Mikado. Since Henri and Mikado didn't follow, Keita talks to himself about having to make a big scene because of Mikado's shyness around Henri. With his thinking being that with Henri present, girls will go for him and Mikado. I can see that. Since oh wait, I think I just since Ari didn't. Yeah, he had to make a big scene about Mikado shyness around Ari, and then he's like noticing the yellow scars around him in the area of the city he's in. Ow, my arm is just getting battered. Ari has noticed that Kita and Mikado both like her, shown by Mikita's ability to ruin a romantic sunset moment by calling out potential rain clouds. Suddenly, she turns the other way, saying goodbye to Mikado, almost like she can't go any further, which is very weird. The narrator notes that Ari might not be able to answer any confession because she still likes Mika and does not understand the difference between friendship and love. Kita is caught up in a conversation with Yellow Scarf members who wanted to return to their color gang. I didn't know he was in the color gang. Mikado sees a magazine that has a piece asking who the slasher is, with the news having reported about 8 slasher incidents in the last month. That's a lot. Even the Dollars site is abuzz about the slasher. Curious if the slasher kills or just wounds victims, saying the slasher is a part of the Dollars. Ari is once again followed by the Angel Girls, while Mikado gets back in his chat room to talk about the yellow scars, and asks about them to Izia and Seton. Izia says they disappeared after getting into a fight with another color gang, so it looks like they're back. Seton also mentions not to underestimate the police, and Izia brings up the rumors of the slasher and the headless rider being in the Dollars. Izia privately messages Mikado to warn him about the yellow scars and their dislike of the size of the Dollars. Meanwhile, the Angel Girls are bullying Ari, kicking her to the ground, accusing her of selling herself to Mikado and Kita, along with Mr. Nasajima, calling her a floozy and a parasite. Ari wonders if what they are saying is true, with her old dependence on Mika and her current one with Mikado and Kita. The Angel Girls keep going, wanting Ari to take them to her house to search for incriminating evidence. When was that ever a thing that happened? That's when the slasher shows up, and at the same time Psycho shows up in the chat room, even though Izia banned them. Seton, Izia and Mikado are curious how Psycho keeps showing up, each time with a different host. Ari is unintentionally saved by the slasher, attacking the Angel Girls with their knife. That's a knife! Where you got your head? A knife! Moving into episode 14. Izia is quick to talk about the Raya Academy student attack with Celti and Mikado in the chat room. Serious enough to reference Daimajin, the great demon god part of the Kaiju universe. I should actually have that highlighted and saved into my research. Mikado goes to call Ari, but Izia already knows she wasn't a victim of the slasher, along with the location of the attack. He still contacts Ari and learns that she witnessed the incident and is in the middle of an interview with the police. Oh. Okay. Celti checks out the incident location without being spotted by the police, while providing narration about how the incident changed Ari's fate, and that apparently tied to her past. Shinra returns home, thinking Celti is having a shower, and sneaks to the shower, only to find his father showering. No amount of therapy is gonna undo that one. Yay. After the shower, Shingen asks about the yellow scars, so Shinra fills them in on the history between them and the blue squares. Not gonna acknowledge the nakedness that happened earlier. Since Celti brought Shingen to the apartment safely, Shinra asks him to pay the fee, but he's unwilling to pay. So instead, Celti wraps shadow forms around his throat, while Shinra takes his wallet for Celti to collect her money. Seeing Celti show love for Shinra, Shingen is surprised to see she likes his son, causing her to do the ooh fingers meme. However, he disapproves of this relationship between Human and Dullahan, until she types Shinra likes the way she is. Noting Celti won't regain her memory of Ireland without her head, Shinra says they'll make new memories together to replace them. Shinra is already thinking of a wedding, and wanting to see Celti naked to take her measurements, disappointing his dad. Ha! Of course! Why not? Even though, like, what we see later on is, you don't need to do that, Shinra. Suddenly, Shingen spills the beans on having stolen Celti's head, but thinking Celti will quickly forget, calling her an airhead. Thinking he can get away with bullying Celti, Shinra trips his father. With the bullying out of his system, he states that he stole Celti's head and sold it to Yagiri Pharmaceuticals. He tries to escape Celti and Shinra, but Celti drops down with her bike, only to reveal that he tricked her. He did the classic hide in the elevator trick. But now he has to wait for the elevator to go get his bags. Oh, you idiot. I love the awkwardness of, like, having to wait. Having lost Shingen, Celti sees Mikado and chats with him about the stuff he's thinking about, which is the slasher. It's the most prevalent thing at the moment. Mainly about the word rumours that the slasher is part of the dollars, and mostly worried about something dangerous happening if it gets around with the strain between the yellow scarves and the dollars. Celti promises she'll look into the slasher incidents and tells Mikado to go somewhere else to zone out. Talking with Shizuo turns up no leads on the slasher though, and Celti explains she's doing this for the dollars and herself, since the slasher attacked her, like, back in episode 5? Learning of her encounter with the slasher, Shizuo calls her an idiot for not telling him sooner, now prepared to find and kill the slasher. She manages to calm Shizuo's bloodlust to protect her by saying she still needs to make preparations to deal with the slasher. But instead, she just didn't want a fight to happen between Izaya and Shizuo, visiting him next to ask about the slasher. Paying for his services, Izaya starts by cracking wise about Celti's clothes, but oversteps the line when insulting Shinra. He asks if she could kill Shinra if another Dullahan came along and seduced him, all a test to see if she's becoming more human, which is interesting to think about. Like, the more time you spend with humans, the more human you become. Yeah, it makes sense. Getting back to the topic of the slash though, Izaya gives her special information that the incident belongs in the realm of the fantastical. A katana by the name of Saika, an ethereal sword they used to recite in Shinjuku, that Celti compares to the Muramasa blade, which is a katana believed to be cursed with demons from its creator, Muramasa Sengo. itchy eye. Sayaka's legend is that it has a mind of its own and is able to control humans. Combined with the slasher's victims saying it has red eyes, it might be true. On top of this evidence, and there's always been the Sayaka in the chat room since the slasher's first appearance, and Celty never noticed its presence when she was attacked. Shinra's able to explain her lack of awareness since Psycho controls the mind while the body it controls is the thing that's moving. So maybe that's it. Celty is alert to Shinra's knowledge of Psycho, thinking he's hiding something about it. Suspicious. Moving in, the next day, Shingen points a gun at Nami when she arrives at Izuya's office, only to reveal it's a model gun when Izuya arrives. It's like, that's still a crime, buddy. Like, threatening someone with violence / death. No wonder Nami wants to report him for his actions. But he knows Celty's head is here, and that would get Izuya and Nami in trouble. Shingen reveals he's not in a rush to get Celty's head back. His company's more interested in Celty's body. He decided that the location of her head is under investigation and is interested in Izuya's theory of a Valkyrie being a Dullahan, trying to awaken it by causing a power struggle, along with Izuya's mythological approach to research. Offering his advice, Shingen tells Izuya to not involve her in some clash of wills between others, but to instead make her body the center of the clash. Izuya is already doing that, with things being set in motion faster than he expected. Back over at Durarara Academy, Mr. Nezujima tries to take advantage of Ari's emotional state and bullying to hit her on it again. It's like, bruh, what is your problem? Nikita calls him out on his creepy behavior, comparing it to what happened to Haruna last year, which upsets Mr. Nezujima. Away from Mr. Nezujima, Nikita asks if Mikado has managed to confess his feelings to her, to her, and her lack of response is enough to tell him Mikado hasn't. Saying that Mikado does seem to be in love with Ari, Nikita announces he's going to look after them. Mikado arrives from his math study, mentions a square root of 3 points, and Nikita reveals he sucks at math by not knowing what a square root is. All while the slasher watches them leave the school. Interesting. Nikita finally visits Saki, while Ari remembers the time she saw someone with red eyes like the slasher. Even more interesting. Shinra reveals that his father had Sayaka for a while, only to sell it to an antique shop a few years ago. Apparently Sayaka can cut people's souls. She can use Sayaka to steal Celty's head by cutting the soul that bound her head to her body. He never mentioned it at first because Celty was trying to forget about her head. Having to process this information, Celty takes a ride, and at the same time, Sayaka attacks Anri. Wait, what? That's a surprise. Just suddenly, sudden attack. Moving on to episode 15. We start off with Suji starting the episode, flying in front of the cinema after being smacked by Izio using a light post back in the Mika arc. And I'm calling the first arc the Mika arc to make it easier to understand. All he wants to do is learn about Ikebukuro's source of energy and about Shizuo's strength. He learned of Shizuo while doing his seasonal piece about troubling times in Tokyo back during the Mika arc. Tom calls Shizuo off Tsuji to go deal with that teacher who's sexually sexually harasses his students, aka Mr. Nazujima. I love how that's how we know him now. It's just like, he's just he's a perv. That attack sparked a sort of youthful energy in Tsuji, piquing his interest in Shizuo, wanting to know everything about him. Due to more attacks by the slasher, Tsuji's current article has been cancelled, and he believes more magical things are about to happen in Ikebukuro. Unable to interview Shizuo without being attacked, Shuji interviews the people that know Shizuo to learn more about him, starting with Simon, of all people. However, Simon isn't that reliable, focusing more on selling food to Tsuji, despite him not ordering. It's like, I don't want food right now, I'm doing job. The owner of Russian Sushi, Dennis, points Tsuji towards Shiki of the Awakuzu group, but he says fights are of the past, that nowadays it's more about brain over brawn. He does mention the dollars and the yellow scarves, mostly to say they'll leave them alone as... this is Shiki talking. And Shiki does mention the dollars and the yellow scarves are brought up. Mostly say they'll leave them alone, as long as their business is not interfered with, and that's the Awakusa group. Along with how recent the appearances of Celti and the Slash have been, before finally getting around to Shizuo. Shiki directs him to Izaya, and to not report about the business of the Awakusa group. It's like, you don't want trouble, mate. You don't want trouble. Izaya is quickly aware that Tsuji is there for the Troubled Times in Tokyo article, which makes Tsuji glad that things will be easy. He's then caught off guard about how Izaya addresses Shizuo as Shizu-chan, a way for Izaya to treat Shizuo as a little kid. Izaya calls him unpleasant and is unwilling to talk about Shizuo, not even liking to learn about him. Ignoring Shuji's topic of interest, Izaya asks about how Haruna is doing since having to transfer from Ryo Academy, showing how aware he is of Tsuji from his run-in with Shizuo 6 months ago. Izaya says Shuji might interfere with his work with the dollars and the other scarves and the slasher. He does help in the end, directing Shuji to Celti, who says she's a trustworthy friend to him, all while just sitting down to watch Hanamaru Kindergarten, which I'm pretty sure is for little kids. It's like an anime made for little kids, which is funny considering he's calling Shizuo a little kid. Shuji explains he's gone to Celti. Shuji explains that he's working on his article about who's the strongest in Ikebukuro, telling Celti that some people consider her the strongest in town. In response, she laughs, typing that Shizuo is way stronger than her, trying to put it in words of how to describe Shizuo, laying on saying his strength is like a gun's. Yeah. considering you can toss stuff like it's a chew toy. Yeah. Asking to see what's under Celty's helmet, Shuji is absolutely shocked to see no head, not believing it and thinking it's magic. Yeah, it's mystical, which does fall into the sort of magic realm. Recovering from that shock, Shuji continues his investigation, hearing mostly about the struggle between the dollars and the yellow scarves. It's just like, is there anything else other than those two groups and the slasher going on? However, all he really learns is that the yellow scarves believe that the dollars are behind the slasher attacks, and also hears how Henri was spared by the slasher. Prepared to talk face to face with his daughter, Shuji is suddenly attacked by the slasher. Okay, that's very Pacific location sort of stuff right there. Izia is already on the pulse with the information and shares it with Celty and Mikado, causing Celty to panic and lie about being a fan of the article. Sayaka joins their chat room, making Izia excited for its arrival and announcing again he wants to cut Sayaka. Sayaka goes on about loving strong people, wanting to cut them, and mentions Shizuo, which perks up everyone's attention. It's like, this is the first time a person's name has been mentioned directly by Sayaka. Henri has her reoccurring dream about being with her parents again, with Shuji's narration revealing her parents died 5 years ago, and it was the first incident by the slasher. Shuji's narration continues to overt Nasujima's harassment, explaining how Henri just closes her heart to him and waits for him to leave. Smart. And Shuji knows this because he's now the slasher himself, having woken up in a hospital bed after his attack with a memory gap. Shuji follows Henri, believing he needs to protect Henri. All other nurses worry about Shuji's wounds reopening. So Shizuo sits on Celty's bike, absolutely wanting to kill the slasher / Sayaka. Bouncing on a bike like a child is like, come on, let's go already. Let's go, let's go, let's go. When 3 yellow scarves look at Shizuo wrong, it takes them a moment to realize they stared at the wrong person before getting their clocks cleaned by him. I just pictured him just clean the actual clocks rather than punching them out. Henri ends up lost and full walking down random streets until 2 police officers warn her it's 11 PM already. Meanwhile, Erica winds Walker up with her force, with the target being the story Walker wrote a while ago that was talked about in episode 12.5. Kohei brings their focus back to the mission in hand, gathering information about the member of the dollars that was attacked. Mentioning they joined the dollars to have peaceful lives, Walker references Yotsuba it's like the and symbol exclamation mark. Yotsuba wanting to adopt a cute green-haired daughter in a foreign land and live happily with beautiful sisters in Japan. Okay. Saburo and Kohei notice Shuji's red eyes and that he's following Henri, while Celty almost has another run-in with Kinosuke. Henri returned to the attack side of the Angel Girls, saved at the last second from Slasher Shuji by Saburo ramming him with the van. Slasher Shuji survived their hit, almost slicing Kyohei and going after Ari again, only to meet Celti's bike tire to the face. Just a full-on... which still doesn't kill him. With Shizuo present, Slasher Suji focuses on him, but Shizuo uses the van group's fan door to block Slasher Shuji's attacks. It's like, just like, barrier, let's go. So, like, Shizuo does have, like, a level of intelligence that goes beyond what Izaya thinks. Continuing with this attack into episode 16, Shizuo shows his politeness to Kohei by at least saying he's borrowing the Vandal, and plowing Slasher Shuji into a wall with it. Celti uses her shadow powers to take Slasher Shuji's knife back to Shinra, but the night was not over yet. Ari took her back to her house. Oh no, Celti took her back to her house, and she, like most people would, asked to see if Celti really had no head. Meanwhile, Ari got another visitor that night, Haruna Neakawa. Oh, my neck. I really need to get better at writing my notes. I just realized. Celti believes the situation with Sayaka has been dealt with, but Shinra feels something isn't right. The same as Shizuo. Shizuo plans to go to Shinjuku to try killing Izaya, which Erika sees as a yaoi thing between the two. Focusing back on the knife, Celti reveals it to Shinra, who is surprised to see it's just a knife. But combined with the red eyes, talking like a woman, and saying stuff about love, something is clearly going on. Celti wonders if Sayaka is a sadist, but Shinra states it's Sayaka's purpose to love people. Meanwhile, Ari has let Haruna and her red eye stare into her room. Although it's more of like a crimson red, not slasher red. And she's like awkward about Haruna just staring at it. It's like, just a stare. Just an absolute stare. But, like, Haruna's eyes are really weird as well, which adds to the creepiness. Haruna finally speaks up to Ari to ask Ari if she knows why she's visiting her. And Ari thinks it's about Mr. Nazajima, but Haruna says she loves Takashi Nazajima. Staring up at the roof, she's like, she is weird. In a surprise twist, Takashi actually rejected Haruna. I guess there's some lines that even creeps won't cross. Shinra explains that Sayaka's only way to express love is to slash people multiple times to verify its love. Haruna reveals she's annoyed that Takashi likes Ari, freaking Ari out, but Haruna states she shouldn't use other people. It was Haruna that stabbed her own father to turn him into a slasher. Shinra notices that the knife was made in 2009 and picks it up to show that it's just a regular knife. Sweet, free knife! He adds that maybe Shuji knew of the Sayaka legend and decided to copy it. With the realization that the knife isn't Sayaka, the two piece together from the Sayaka in the chat room that there must be other Sayakas slashing and possessing people. Haruna pulls out her knife, ready to attack Henri, while Celti and Shinra figure out that Sayaka can impregnate the souls of people it slashes to create more Sayakas. So... impregnating souls. Never a sentence I thought I would ever say. Or a topic I never thought would come up. That's anime for you. Shizuo arrives at Izuya's office building, ready to punch him. To which Izuya references Doraemon's character, Jian. Man, I am missing my references in my own references in the notes. That's embarrassing. Instead of going straight for punches, Shizuo asks how involved Izuya is with the slasher attacks, because he's usually the one behind everything. It's like, yeah. At the same time, Haruna approaches Ari, calling her a pathetic excuse of a human for clinging to Mika since middle school, and talking about Ari's past. Ari says that it's not easy being dependent on others. Saying Haruna's analogy to her being a parasite is a good one, but taking it further to say how much sacrifice it takes to not be removed. Haruna swings her blade at Ari's neck, only for Ari to be literally saved by the doorbell. A literal saved by the bell moment. Back with Shizuo, he pulls up an entire road guard to throw at Izuya, only for Celti to arrive and stop the fight, showing him that Sayaka is still active. Izuya is left wondering how Shizuo is so invested in the situation despite his apparent stupidity. Of all people to be at Ari's door at this moment, by the way, it just happens to be Takashi himself. It's like, oh, hi Teach, why do you know where I live and why are you such a perv? But it provides a better target for Haruna and saves Henri as well. Except for all the other Sayakas that have arrived to kill Henri. While even more Sayakas, including the Angel Girls, surround Celti and Shizuo to attack him too. It's like, okay, why? Why is it... Wait, I just realized. Why didn't Celti fight them? She literally has no soul. And can... She's like the one person that can fight right now. Huh. Shizuo asks why Sayaka likes him so much, getting the answer that they want him for his ridiculous strength, and that there's no human that would love him, which makes him laugh. He explains that he thought no one would accept him for who he was, but with all these Sayakas here, he realizes that it's okay to recognize his own existence and go full power. Which somehow is still not going to be full power for him. While Shizuo goes to town on fighting the Sayakas, Celti remembers her conversation with Shinra about why Sayaka disappeared for 5 years, and Shinra says someone strong must have been suppressing it during that time. Haruna has managed to corner Takashi, showcasing textbook yandere behavior, cutting her hand and smearing his face with her blood. Ari shows up to stop Haruna from killing Takashi, to say she chose the life she did, and to stop deciding whether people are strong or weak based on how they live. Haruna reveals she became the mother for Sayaka, stabbing Ari in the arm, but Ari states she's been too scared to love anyone because she's the mother herself. We've got a Sayaka fight. But as we know, this show, shows love to cut the action up a lot. As we move into episode 17. And Shizuo takes each Sayaka as they attack one to a few at a time, before slowly getting overwhelmed by them, only to be like, whoa, and send them all flying in all directions. Suddenly all the Sayakas stop finding Shizuo to look off in a random direction, so Celty tosses Shizuo some shadow gloves before leaving to check out the situation. Anri easily disarms Haruna of her knife, while she was in the process of wondering if Anri killed her own parents. Holding Haruna at katana point, she asks Haruna to stop her Sayakas, or she could use her Sayaka to depossess the other Sayakas. Showing what her Sayaka says all the time by poking Haruna with Sayaka, Haruna sees Anri's fake memory and her real memory of being choked by her abusive father. We're getting backstory, people, and it's not pretty. Anri's father ran an antique shop, and to de-stress, he beat up his own family, leading to Anri closing herself off. Out of her desire to not be beaten up anymore and to protect her daughter, Anri's mother, who was the slasher, had grabbed Sayaka from his shop and killed him, followed by herself. Shizuo, with his shadow gloves, plays a game of human hopscotch, literally hopping on their heads, only to fall into the mass of Sayakas who managed to slice him son. Sending them flying with a spinning kick, the Sayakas realize they can't convert him into a Sayaka since he doesn't experience fear. So, fear is what it takes to transform someone? That's a pretty terrible weapon if you come across someone that doesn't feel fear like Shizuo. Running through the Sayakas and up a slide, Shizuo delivers a flying ground punch strong enough to send dirt and Sayakas flying. Shizuo is actually scared, not of the Sayakas, but not being able to control his power and failing. Haruna asks how Anri can stand listening to Sayaka's voice all the time, and it's exactly because Anri is a leech and that she can control Sayaka and stand the voice. Reacquiring her knife, Haruna slices Anri multiple times, only to stop out of fear for Sayaka. Anri actually allowed Haruna to attack her, so she can have no qualms about striking back and letting her Sayaka possess Haruna. Poking her again with Sayaka, Haruna is knocked out from the possession, which stops all the Sayaka from attacking Shizuo. Shizuo just falls over laughing, happy with the fact no one died and that his strength listened to him. I mean, they are, like, the Sayakas sort of give a special ability to those possessed that they can't really get hurt. Yeah. Celty arrives at the resolved problem, seeing Takashi trying to take credit for helping her by putting her and Mika in the same class. Anri originally thought that Celty was the slasher, hoping Takashi would attack Celty in order to help him and pay off her debt to him. Takashi freaks out over Anri wielding Sayaka, thinking she's just like Haruna. But Anri reassures him that she's not like her in loathing Takashi. Yeah, she doesn't like you, buddy. Get out. Over with the fan group, Walker is talking about the new door, which has Haruna Nogisaka from Haruna Nogisaka's Secret, which I mentioned earlier in the Japanese title. Before it has that character on it, before switching over to talking about Kino's journey. with Erika wondering if they'll release her Shizuo's journey. Back with Anri at the hospital for her injuries, Mikado is surprised to have learned what happened from Kida. Anri shares her first encounter with the slasher, saying how many people saved her from them, calling Shizuo cool and learning of Celti's secret. Mikado almost says he knows Celti as well, but stops himself, instead saying that they're in a different world from normal people. Anri asks Mikado what he thinks real abnormality is in their world, with her own answer being that nothing happens. Celti decides to take Haruna to Shinra and tells Anri she wouldn't forgive her for knocking off her helmet back then, and to use Sayaka to help others. Izia provides narration about how Anri partly wished for the power she has obtained, helping her feel grounded in reality at last. Her false memories have been replaced with memories of her hanging out with Kida and Mikado, able to investigate Haruna's memories at will, and found out about him. Ready to attack him if he ever tried to destroy the peaceful lives she, Mikado, and Mika have. Turns out that Izia is that him that led Takashi to cause the dominoes that led to tonight. What was an accident back then when Takashi stole Izia's money to pay off his debt. Takashi turned to blackmailing Haruna's parents for money and came to Izia by the word of the Awakuzu Association to look into Haruna's family. In that process, Izia found out that Haruna was Sayaka's host, and in setting up the attack with Celti, unaware of it, he learns that Anri was the real Sayaka. As for what happened to Takashi, he ended up knocked out by Shizuo for attacking him for money. Like, well done. You picked the one guy that's way stronger than you. Meanwhile, the van group tries interrogating Shuji, but he didn't remember anything about attacking anyone, like he was hypnotized or something. Kohei sees that the police seem to be bracing for a gang war to break out, and Walker adds that it's also the Yellow Scarves. They all receive a message from Mikado, who wants information on the slasher. Izia did all this to break the city into 3 factions: the Dollars, the Yellow Scars, and Sayaka's army, with Sayaka's army having spies in the other 2 factions. And with that done, he's happy just to cause some sparks in the city to kickstart a war. Nani asks if the Yellow Scars were formed by some middle school brat, but Izia mentions that the kid, or not, it's impressive that kid formed a massive gang all alone. The kid that formed the Yellow Scars is none other than Kida himself, who's ready to return and destroy the slasher, all the Dollars. Unaware that his friends are leading the groups he wants to destroy. It's like, what are we gonna do now? We got a freeway battle. Freeway battle royale, everyone. It's time to get to some fun. As we go into episode 18, we've got the chess pieces set up for what comes next. We've still got another 8 episodes. At the moment, though, Kida decides to visit Saki in the hospital, with the topic of the conversation being on Anri being friends with Kida. And Saki is not even upset with Kida's interest in Anri. Weird. However, Kida believes he and Saki broke up already, leaving Saki to ask why Kita visits her if so. Saki is unbothered by how many girls Kita dates, because on some deeper level, he still loves her, according to what Izaya says. Izaya is looking forward to seeing how these freeway fights in Ikebukuro will go, especially since the leaders are all friends with each other, setting his board alight. He really likes fire. Going back 1 year, it's revealed that Saki's legs were broken and she was left unconscious, all because of Izuya's plan, using her with Kita being the reason why it happened. Izuya hopes Saki wakes up soon and thinks that Kita thinks she'll blame him for what happened. He says Kita's guilt is meaningless whether Saki dies or lives because it will haunt him forever either way. And saying that Saki will become a deity to Kita. Sorry, I don't know why I paused there. My brain just shut off for a moment. Presently, Kita is happy to see Ari and her errors are okay. And Makoto is just happy she's okay. I'm pretty sure we guess what errors are. Kita gets a call from someone having to go to them, leaving Ari and Mikado to know how weird his behavior has been recently. In the past, Kita was heavily involved in the Yellow Scarves, and met Saki while part of the group. Kita is surprised that Saki already knows his name, making a Tokyo ESP reference to Ito the ESP user. Saki says she's not the ESP user, but the ESP user is an amazing person. With it being Izuya, it's like, Izuya is like got all these names for himself, almost. The Yellow Scarves still haven't learnt anything about the dollars, having asked some old members who couldn't identify the leader during their first gathering in the Mika arc. They have learned that Mikado is after information about the slasher, meaning the slasher isn't part of the dollars. Well, they don't know, like, the leader of the dollars. They don't know Mikado's the leader of the dollars yet. In other news, for Kita, Harada got attacked by Celti with a shadow attack for making fun of Shingen, which is definitely going to get misconstrued. Kita asks Harada and the other adults to not bring any more adults into the Yellow Scarves, because if they have more adults, they'll lose. Just like how he allowed Izuya to influence him through Saki, which first worked out well. And Kita asks if Saki would die for Izuya if he asked her to, and she probably would. So he set about trying to free her from Izuya. Saki admits that Izuya told her to like Kita, but over time she grew to actually like him because he's cool or cute. She knows associating with Izuya is one of her faults, but doesn't want to fix any of them. Kita says she should fix them, even offering to help. Even while Saki and Kita dated, fights were going on between the Yellow Scarves and the Blue Squares, with the latter playing dirty. Out of fear of having to disband the Yellow Scarves, he turned to Izuya again, helping them learn how to fight and the locations of the Blue Squares. He was glad the Yellow Scarves were winning so often and was fully trusting Izuya. Suddenly, he got a call from the leader of the Blue Squares, Ran Izumi, to say that they're holding a trivia tournament, with Saki held prisoner and torturing her by breaking her legs. Oh, that's brutal. Izumi gave 20 minutes for Kita to get to the parking lot, otherwise something worse will happen to Saki. Kita calls Izuya multiple times, but he ignores it. And at the same time, Kohei announces his departure from the Blue Squares by punching a member in the face for kidnapping Saki. It's like, yeah, as much as people join gangs, it's like, there's lines. There's always a line. Kita calls up. Seeing the van group entering the parking lot with their van, Kita throws in place out of fear because he's a powerless middle schooler. So instead of Kita saving Saki, Walker talks about animating the group of Blue Squares that kidnapped Saki before revealing a Molotov cocktail and saving Saki. It's like, saving her, yeah. It's like, look what I get, it's a fiery bomb. Saki did wake up from her injuries and gave a testimony leading to the arrest of Izumi and the disbanding of the Blue Squares. Kohei talked to Kita outside the hospital about why Kita hasn't visited Saki yet, which Kita avoids talking about. He lied for Kita's sake, telling Saki that Kita was held up by asking why saying that Kita was held up by the Blue Squares and got there late. Kita gets upset with Kohei's decision to do that, asking why he did that, and saying he has to lie to Saki now. Kohei stops Kita's attack and tells him to put up with lying as atonement for his actions and to not run from the present or the future. Meanwhile, back in the present, Kita again affirms his declaration to defeat the Slasher and the dollars if the Slasher is a part of them, noting Izia was right all along. A girl was spotted spying on the Blue Squares, and Kita was to talk to her, who happens... Oh no, spying on the yellow scarves. I don't know why I wrote Blue Squares. And Kita wants to talk to her, and it happens to be Ari. Ari has managed to... moving into episode 19. Ari has managed to escape the initial search by the yellow scars, dealing with the shock of discovering Kita's secret. With them sprinting out to find her, Ari slips in between the wooden pallets. It's like, I gotta hide. Going back to when Ari was released from the hospital, Mikhailo was the first one to meet up with her, offering to carry her bags, followed by Kita and his inappropriate comments. Mikhailo noticed that Kita came out of the hospital before telling Ari about what she had missed. Ari notices Kita staring at a particular window of the hospital, and that he seems different. She has been noticing his different behavior since the first time Kita visited her in the hospital, especially after telling him that the Slasher did something to her. Kita is quickly pulled away from Ari and Mikado, leaving them to walk together and having to go to the other scarves to deal with something. The chat room comes up once again with the topic of the yellow scarves on the table, with Celti noting that they have changed recently and becoming more violent. Sayaka even joins the chat room less threatening and more conversational, able to join the yellow scarves topic. Immediately, Izia sets about setting up his newest plan by mentioning the Slasher incidents and how the Dollars and Yellow Scarves are going after each other, framing it as need-to-know information for living in Ikebukuro. With apparent victims in both gangs, they both believe the Slasher is in the other's gang. Celti private messages Henri not to worry about Izia saying about what Izia is saying about the gangs, that nothing will matter if she claims to be the perpetrator. She also confides in Ari that the traffic cops really scare her at the moment. Ari's lack of internet knowledge leads to Celtic telling her she'll teach her how to use private messages. It's like, every time there's that one person that doesn't know private messaging, they have to explain to them later. Izia and Mikado have their own private message where Izia promises to give Mikado information on the slasher at a bargain price, knowing everything already. Mikado wants the misunderstandings cleared up as soon as possible, but Izia wonders if that will be possible with how incohesive both gangs are. Real violence is already cropping up in Ikebukuro as Yellow Scars beat up Dollars members for the sake of it, leaving Kida to feel the weight of death on his hands. Following Kida's polygamy comment, which is a insane thing to joke about, Ari and Mikado continue on their way until Ari announces her own business. With Ari gone, Mikado hears a random conversation about the drama of the Dollars and Yellow Scarves. It's like, yeah, the Dollars aren't really doing anything because their leader doesn't want them to. While also they are doing stuff because the leader doesn't see it. Meanwhile, Walker is wondering if someone does a Russian Kozak dance when you order takeout. Luckily for those Dollars members about to be beat up by the Yellow Scars, someone happens to walk by and stop their attack. It's like, nope. Guy sees Kida walking across the road and notes that bad weather is coming. Ari decides to do her own investigation into the gangs and to hide who she is by changing into a black hooded dress. Using her psychers, she learns that Kida is the leader of the Yellow Scars and goes to the meeting to confirm it for herself. Kida nearly finds Ari hidden in the pallets, but is saved by the arrival of Celti, who came to save her. Knowing where Ari is, Celti climbs the pallets, allowing Ari to climb onto her bike, and they both escape. Kida does his whole romance thing, but realizing the fact that Ari doesn't want her face seen by Kida, Celti turns her bike into its original horse form to just confuse people, I guess. One of the Yellow Scars throws a metal pipe at Celti and Ari, forcing Ari to use Sayaka to protect them, which shows that Celti and the Slasher know each other. Ultimately, that one action cemented the idea that since the Slasher is with Celti, and that there's a rumor of Celti being part of the Dollars, it must mean the Slasher is part of the Dollars, right? Kida is uncertain of this truth, and since they also confirmed Celti as a Dullahan, Kida believes someone in his group of friends might die. Kida reads a slogan for an old yellow flag toting group, which was the Yellow Turban Bandits from the Yellow Turban Rebellion of the year 184 in China, from the Romance of the Three Kingdoms, which actually is very interesting because the next anime after this also references this. What? The next anime that I have also references the Romance of the Three Kingdoms as well. What? Huh? Over in the chat room, Mikado asks Izia if the Yellow Scarves have always been in Ikebukuro. This leads into Izia giving Mikado a history lesson of the rivalry between the Yellow Scarves and the Blue Squares, while also leaving out the details about Saki, Kita, and himself being involved. Izia does add one important detail. The remaining Blue Squares join the Yellow Scarves, hoping for someday to take them down from within. With that said, Izia plants a seed of doubt in Mikado's mind about some people being in both the Dollars and the Yellow Scarves. Mikado is hopeful that by spreading that the Dollars are not involved, the Yellow Scarves will learn that too, but that's only if the Dollars are truly not behind it. Especially if some of the Dollars members are also part of the Slashers group. The next day, Anri is so distracted by the truth about Kita that she momentarily ignores Mikado saying good morning to her. Earl passes by and mentions that Kita is not coming to school today, who has instead decided to visit Saki. Running into Kohei outside of the hospital, he conveys a single look that he has returned to the Yellow Scarves. Which brings us to episode 20. My throat is a bit sore from all this reading. And I don't have a water. Damn. Erica, moving into episode 20, Erica starts the narration by saying that a great man once said, the world is a construct of the mind, or something similar to that. Kita is with the fan group at Russia Sushi to talk with them, getting directly to the point about the slasher, to which Kohei answers that their group was attacked too. However, he's more curious about the Dollars hierarchy and wanting to warn them about a secret faction within the Dollars. Kohei answers why someone would pose as the slasher to destroy the Yellow Scarves, but Kita doesn't understand either. Kita brings up the Blue Squares as the potential ones behind the slasher incidents, wanting the name of the Dollars leader, but Walker stops Kita's thought process to say the Blue Squares never existed. When Kita yells about how they hospitalized Saki, Walker nearly stabs Kita in the hand with his broken chopsticks. Don't mess with Walker like that. Even Erica is calm in telling Kita to calm down, saying that they want to live where the Blue Squares are just a product of their imaginations. But Walker contradicts Erica, pointing out how the Blue Squares attacked first, yet protested being labelled the bad guys, making Erica realise she's wrong. Getting back to Kita's question about the Dollars leader, Kohei says he doesn't know who they are, nor does he want to, along with denouncing association with the slasher, or wanting to fight the Yellow Scarves. Kohei does know one person who knows who the Dollars leader is, and Kita says he's just after the slasher. But Kohei worries that the Yellow Scarves will go after the Dollars leader, and will only cooperate if Kita can keep them in line. If everything was really the work of the Dollars, does it really concern Kita since he ran away the first time things got serious and involved Saki? Kita explains that this time it involves someone not associated with the Yellow Scarves or his past, and is just using the Yellow Scarves as an excuse to solve his problem. Based on that information, Kohei decides not to reveal the identity of who knows the Dollars leader, and Kita views the Dollars. If Kita still views the Dollars as an enemy, he's down to fight. Dennis throws a knife into the room to stop the argument, nearly hitting Saburo in the process, which Walker compares to Soma Yukihara from Food Wars. Erika and Walker hear Kohei mention Harada's name, thinking about before when Kita mentioned the rumor of Celti being in dollars. And because of Celti helping Ari escape, the Yellow Scars believe through that rumor that the Slashers loosely working with the dollars, along with Celti attacking Harada. I told you that name was important. Kohei tries to remember if he knows someone by that name, but it's been so long. Erika and Walker note something seems off since Celti took care of the Slasher recently, as well as Shizuo doing so as well. Kohei says that the Slasher won't return because they only wanted to fight Shizuo, and ultimately decides to give the number of the guy who knows their boss. Kita checks the number to find out it's Izuya's phone number. It's like, go back to old reliable, huh? And speaking of Izuya, he's currently bored with nothing to do, so Nami offers to punch him and asks why he sent chocolate to the Owazu Association, which was actually just a gun. He sent the gun under the guise of chocolate. And that was because of a guy that stole some handguns from the Owazu Association. And Celti retrieved them all except for one, which Izuya replaced for them under the guise of chocolate. Kita calls Izuya, which he was expecting for a while, agreeing to meet up with him. Walker has his own narration similar to Erika's, while in the background there's an ad for Black Butler playing. Izuya and Kita have their meeting, where Izuya notes Kita's mature look and how it was the same as back then. He could have told Kita what he wanted over the phone, but with how serious the information is, Izuya wanted to tell him in person. Izuya brings up Ari's encounter with the Slasher, and that she's more important to Kita than the Yellow Scarves. Meanwhile, over in the manga store, Erika holds Hollow from Spice Wolf in the hands, and Walker holds Taiga Asaka from Toradora. Meanwhile, in the background, like with characters I could reckon, or like that Google Lens could recognize, we have Sakura Saka Hazuki from Haruka Nogisaga's Secret, and Shana from Shakugan no Shana 2. All while Erika and Walker's narration go over each other. But to refocus on Kita and Izuya's meeting, Izuya brings up Saki's incident, even seemingly knowing that Kita is thinking about being unable to save Saki and isn't in love with her. Bringing it back around to Ari, Kita says he just wants to get through the situation. Izuya beats around the bush with the answer and changes the topic to Mikado, with Kita saying he hasn't told Mikado his involvement with the other Scarves, making Izuya believe he's jealous of Mikado's peaceful life. However, when Izuya reveals that Mikado is the leader of the Dollars, Kita is shocked with this truth. My friend? Against me? Erika and Walker continue their narration in the manga store while looking at prizes from mystery balls, outfits, and figurines with many references on screen that I'm not going to get into. Over in the chat room, Izia mentions that the Dollars and the Yellow Scarves got into another fight. However, this time the Dollars attacked the Yellow Scarves' hideout. Along with this, he suggests that Celty and Ari were working together to attack the hideout. The moment Ari joins the chat room, Celty tries to cover up the truth by saying they were talking about anime. Then Mikado lies that they were talking about the special effects in the new movie, but Izia wants to be upfront with Ari. Izia then lays his newest trap so far with the truth, that the Yellow Scarf's leader wants to meet the leader of the Dollars, without revealing either identity. At school, Kita goes out of his way to try avoiding Mikado, only for Mikado to catch up to him, asking about all he's avoiding. That's when Rose suddenly just shows up, asking if Mikado or Kita revealed he's part of the Dollars to anyone, but they haven't. Kia makes an excuse for himself to avoid Mikado, saying his female fans won't leave him alone. Good lie, mate, good lie. Meeting with the Yellow Scarves, Kita tells his followers not to fight the Dollars anymore, telling them to get evidence to prove the Slasher is part of the Dollars first. Harada calls out that Kita would meet with the Dollars boss, but Kita says he hasn't yet. Note the recent incident involving Ro. We're getting there. We're at episode 21. We've still got 5 episodes left. Mikado visits Ro in the hospital, asking if Kita said anything to him. Mikado hasn't seen Ro yet, and Ro tells Mikado to not feel guilty for what happened. Ro announces his decision to leave the Dollars due to it no longer being colorless and safe for him. Mikado freaks out when Ro starts to suggest that Mikado might be in the Dollars. It's like, I'm not in the Dollars, I'm not. It's like, jeez, your overreaction indicates you are, buddy. Leaving the hospital, Saki watches him leave from her window, and Mikado is left thinking about Izia's words of evolving to escape the mundane back during the Mika arc. Seeing some yellow graffiti reading, "The blue sky has died," Mikado goes to call Kita, but he doesn't answer. Meanwhile, Kita is left to tell off Harada and his friends for attacking the Dollars, ignoring his orders, and kicking one of them square in the face. Harada is annoyed that Kita is saying not to attack, believing that Celty is part of the Dollars, and that the leader of the Dollars might show up. And Kita, fully knowing that Mikado is the leader of the Dollars, tells his group to do nothing until he finds something solid to truly confirm that Mikado is really the leader. Despite this order, more attacks against the Dollars continue to happen, while Celty private messages Ari that this was going to happen no matter what, before realizing Ari still hasn't mastered private messaging. Shizuo's shoulder checks a member of Yellow Scarves, upsetting them, until they realize it's him, talking amongst themselves not to mess with him or Simon. It's like, yeah, you don't want to mess with those type of people. Ha ha ha. Kohei finds Mikado walking alone and warns him about how dangerous it is to be roaming around alone, especially since the attack on Ro. Offering Mikado a red snake, which is a Red Bull knockoff, Mikado brings up the attacks the Yellow Scarves have been doing against the Dollars. Kohei says the Dollars haven't been attacking anyone themselves, and that the boss hasn't issued any orders either. Mikado asks if Kohei is in the Dollars To which he lies, because Mikado is wondering if the dollars are necessary. Oh wait. No, Kohei asks Mikado. Or what? Yeah. Why is my writing so bad? Even people on the dollar site are getting upset that their leader is doing nothing, planning to leave or wanting to launch a counterattack. He sends out a message to say that he thinks violence is not the answer, just wanting to wait until things cool down. Which gets him hate. It's like, bruh. You're the leader. It's like, they're attacking, although he is messaging from an account that's not the leader account. Celti is unable to reach Henri via phone, and in the chat room, Izia is writing stuff that will only make Henri worried. Shinra notes how Mikado is the leader of the dollars, and that Kita is part of the other squares. But Henri doesn't know that first piece of info. At the same time, Henri has managed to escape detection as the slasher from either of them. Celti's hands are tied from saying anything to the three friends, since Henri is staying quiet about it. In the chat room, Izia expresses his excitement about the fun he has created before logging out of the chat room. As days carry on, Mikado stopped visiting the dollar site, carrying on his normal life. Ra is also back in school, unlike Kita, who went home early just to avoid Mikado. After school, only Mikado and Henri walk home together before she suddenly goes her own way. Henri uses her psychers to protect people attacked by the yellow scars, and sends a message that she asks them to stop the yellow scars. She runs around searching for her psychers, telling them all to stop yellow scars attacks when they happen. All the while, Izia watches her actions and relays the action to his new triangle game board with Nami's help. Harada is furious at the supposed betrayal from the Yellow Scarf's members. Makita kindly and jokingly says they were hypnotized. That's when the other members mentioned they saw them with a girl, noting their weird behavior started after meeting her, describing Henri, which freaks Kita out. Harada wants to kidnap Henri, but Kita punches him out cold to get the message across that they are not to fight anyone. Kita doesn't want to believe that Henri is the slasher, and still wants to protect her. Okay. Mikado has a weird moment where he passes three friends that look very similar to himself, Henri and Kita, realizing how vast the city feels when alone. When Mikado first arrived in Ikebukuro, he wanted to go home until Kita showed him around the city. He bumps into Mika and Seiji, and Mika asks him what's going on with Henri, only to find out Mikado hasn't noticed anything going on. She asks Henri what was going on, receiving an "I'm fine" from her, leaving Mika worried about Henri. Before the two leave, Mikado, Seiji notes that Mikado loves Henri and tells him to not turn a blind eye to her. Harada and his horde of yellow scars suddenly see Henri and realize she fits the description of the girl they saw with their members. Mikado thinks about what Seiji told him and wonders if Kita noticed as well, thinking he didn't notice anything because he was thinking about himself. His thoughts shift to why he didn't quit the dollars before. Logging onto the site once again to see people are leaving the dollars or wanting violence against the Yellow Scarves. Mikado asks his members if the dollars should exist, getting a mix of answers between yes and no, until he sees one response that their group should be good by their own power. That's when he remembers that he didn't leave the dollars because they can actually do some good. Suddenly, he also sees some messages that the Yellow Scarves have kidnapped Henri, thanks to the description of the Ryra uniform, glasses, and big honkers. Izia also sees the situation unfold, most likely the one to send the messages to tip Mikado off about Henri being in danger. And now we enter episode 22. With Henri in danger, Mikado sends a message to his members that there's an emergency, with others responding that the Yellow Scarves have gone too far. Henri doesn't even react to the face of danger, but is able to escape when a lady calls out for the police. Running from the Yellow Scarves, Henri is saved by the same lady, whose name is Shiri, and who literally just called out for the police earlier, and actually was the same lady with the notebook back in the Mika arc. Sending a message to the dollar site, everyone is checking if anyone else is near the Orb Ikebukuro building to help Henri along. Castano, who works as a guard for the building, directs Henri out through a parking lot with a closable roller door, which he closes behind her, with only Harada escaping. Still running, Henri runs into someone working in a bunny costume, who tosses down his sign and picks Henri up to aid in her escape. Harada follows the bunny costume and Henri into the store, only have boxes knocked onto him by Ro, who decided to stay in the dollars. Hells yeah. Giving Henri the bunny costume to give Harada the slip, he only finds the worker sitting in the staff room. Harada sees his friends and decides to call him back up. The van group blocks the Yellow Scarves from seeing Henri before picking her up in the van as someone arrives to beat them up. They see everyone's phone going off, showing again how vast the dollars are in Ikebukuro. Henri starts to take off the bunny costume, about to fight two Yellow Scarf members who see her, only to be grabbed away by Kita. Kita, who's still making jokes about Henri's eroticness, asks why she's spying on the Yellow Scarves. It doesn't allow Henri to get a word in though, so she slaps him and runs away, calling Celti for help. The other Yellow Scarves members find Henri sitting under the street lamp and don't believe her when she says she's not part of the dollars. She's saved once again by Shizuo punching Harada sky high for being lustful over Henri, and everyone running or being tossed. It's like, she's like, boom. It's like Hitchcock when he tosses the kid in the air. Everyone praises the dollars for coming together to save Henri, rejoicing this is why the dollars exist. Celti happens to see Mikado on an overpass while taking Henri back to her place over Henri's for safety. Izia is annoyed that the game is already finished on behalf of Shizuo's luck of being in the right place, while being completely unaware of the situation. He notes that the big game isn't over yet, able to use this incident to put them in check and checkmate at the same time. Wake up in Celti and Shinra's place. Anri finds them playing a video game, with Celti getting upset and encasing the console in a black ball. Anri is apologizing for causing them trouble, but they're fine with Anri staying if it keeps her safe, even willing to get her anything she needs. They're making Anri take some time off school for her safety too, and make sure Mikado knows. Anri's first thing to note is that Celti is living with a guy, which is a surprise to her. It's like, really? That's a surprise to you? Meanwhile, Harada, complete with a neck brace and bandages, announces that the Yellow Scarves are going to crush the dollars in Kita's absence. So, in response, everyone is upset by the newest attacks by the Yellow Scarves, and Shiri wants to pool their resources to continue protecting each other. However, Mikado decides to make the dollars disappear, with people calling him irresponsible or defending his action, closing off access to the site. Anri talks to Celti about having to keep her secret about Sayaka from Mikado and Kita, and how they're always helping her out. Celti suggests they talk to Mikado about what is going on, deciding to reveal he's also hiding something significant from her and Kita too. Mikado looks out to the city after having locked everyone out of the dollar site, not realizing Kita is calling. Meanwhile, out in the city, Shizuo is shot down by Harada, putting the blame on Kita. Which brings us to episode 23. Despite the rain, Simon continues doing his job of trying to entice people into Russia sushi to eat. With none of the characters on speaking terms currently, Saki calls Russia sushi to tell Dennis what Izaya is thinking. Izaya excitedly looks over his board, wondering if he's created a checkmate or Atari, and asks Nami if she's out, and asks Nami, but she's outside on her phone. Mikado is in bed, completely unaware of everything, but is unable to sleep. The van group talk about how influential Harada is with the Yellow Scarves, when Saburo realizes which Harada they are talking about. Kita is confused about whether Mikado also knows everything, and if Mikado and Ari have been working together, and realizes he's the lowest of them for being suspicious of his own friends. Celti arrives at Mikado's house, and he thinks she's there because he closed down the dollars site. Kita receives a call from Harada saying he's fired from being the leader of the Yellow Scarves, following the fact that he's friends with Mikado. Harada now wants to kill both Mikado for being the dollars leader and Kita for tricking them, along with all the Yellow Scarves. Celti asks Mikado if he loves Anri and sees Kita as a close friend, leaving Mikado confused about what's going on. Kita tries calling someone by the name of Maruyama multiple times, but they don't pick up. Shizuo survived his shooting somehow, ready to bleed all over Shinra's flooring for medical help, still acting like his annoyed self when asked why he's walking. Anri is surprised to see Shizuo, and Shizuo doesn't remember her, so Shinra introduces him to Anri. Explaining what happened, Shizuo thought at first he slipped in the rain until he realized he had been shot, and the people that did it got away. Now he wants revenge on them, by killing them along with Kita, since he believes Kita ordered them to do so. To shoot him. Kita's suspicions of Mikado and Henri's suspicions of Mikado and Kita have been replaced with a fear for their safety. Thinking about why he couldn't... Kita's suspicions of Mikado and Henri have been replaced with a fear for their safety. Thinking about why he couldn't move back then. Man, I am not good at my notes. Instead of hiding in fear, Kita races down the street to find Mikado and Henri. Celty has told Mikado everything, knowing that Izia is behind it all, and Mikado asks why they didn't tell him. When Celty turns the question onto him, his answer is that he thought everything about the dollars was his problem to deal with, and Celty says they probably thought the same thing. She suddenly receives a call from Shinra, who's chasing Henri down the street after Shizuo showed up, saying Kita ordered his hit. Simon interrupts Kita's run to wherever he's going, noting he looks a bit down, and Kita says Russia Sushi always has great food, trying to distract Simon from his plan. However, Simon knows Kita's eyes are that of someone that's prepared to die, wanting Kita to stop whatever he's doing. All three friends are now currently on the move, going who knows where, which gets Izia excited and leading him to make a meta joke about viewers and actors. Harada convinces that the Yellow Scarves and the Dollars haven't disbanded, that it's all a trick, wanting the Yellow Scarves to take out the Dollars, to take over Ikebukuro, and eventually Tokyo. Believing that the only ones in their way of getting to Mikado are Kohei and his friends, the Yellow Scarves head out to take over Ikebukuro. Harada's main lackeys don't want to kill anyone, still worried about the police, even with Harada, packing a gun. Kita shows up at the Yellow Scarves hideout ready to fight, while Celty finds Simon and asks where Kita and Henri are. Based on the lack of Yellow Scarves around, Simon figures that Kita has gone to their hideout. Celty confirms with Mikado that he's ready to see anything, even if it's horrible, which he agrees to. Kita doesn't recognize anyone at the hideout, and Harada confirms that those who disagree with him being the leader were attacked, twisting it to be the work of the Dollars. Harada mocks Kita with the thing that happened to Saki, realizing he was a part of the Blue Squares, and this whole thing is a coup to bring back the Blue Squares. Kita is refreshed to have been fired from the Yellow Scarves, that he's now just a high schooler who hits on girls, and a loser who couldn't save his girlfriend. Now he can chase his past, ready to fight Harada, taking a crowbar to the face like a jab. It's just like, wham! It's just like, poof. Thanks to his new weapon, Kita takes down every attack with ease, getting face to muscle with Harada's gun. Kita gets knocked down by a Yellow Scarves member, allowing Harada to mock him, when suddenly Kita stands up like a ghost, lifted him up before falling down again. That's terrifying. It's like, he's a human, it's like, just like, almost like, fully lifted up onto his feet. Harada prepares to kill Kita with his gun when Anri's subliminal message to protect Kita kicks in, meaning Anri is nearby and shows up by slicing through the metal doors. Celty also shows up on time for the three to stare at each other. It's like... It's a stare off. Moving into... We're going to get through this though. We've got 2 episodes left. And Harada orders the Yellow Scars to kill Mikado, Anri, and Kita, when suddenly people against Harada attack Harada's supporters thanks to Kohei. Kohei explains how Saburo figured out how Harada was the only one to get out of going to jail when Izumi got arrested. He decided to leave Walker and Erika out of this plan because of how recognizable they are, which Erika knows Ed is very much fair, especially with who Walker is, really. The little pyromaniac he is. Kita gets even more furious at Harada for being involved in Saki's torture, punching him square in the nose before passing out. Mikado says that he knows about Kita and Anri's identities and feels sorry for being oblivious to what was going on, wishing he had talked to them to prevent all this from happening. Anri and Kita also apologize for not talking about what was going on, taking a moment to do so. Kita requests to be taken to Durarara General so that he can meet up with Saki. Kohei reveals that the dollars had infiltrated the Yellow Scarves, like how Harada did in the past. Someone notices Harada escaping, so Celty goes after Harada and tells Kohei to take Kita to the hospital. While they escape in their car, Celty notices Shizuo ahead of them and stops, letting him get his revenge by using a highway sign to slice off the roof of the car. It's like a full-on, like an axe, like, shing! Before javelining it through their car. It's like, just pins the car in place. Or like, it doesn't pin it in place, it's like, it got a new accessory. Still able to drive, they think that Celty has caught up to them, but it's actually Kinosuke who gives chase with his traffic cops. Like, those traffic cops are dangerous. Kohei, Mikado, and Anri get Kita to Durarara General, only for Anri to disappear immediately. Meanwhile, Izaya finds the gun the Owazu Association was missing in Harada's hands from one of Harada's friends, Higa. It also turns out that Izaya was behind the plot to have Harada kill Shizuo with the gun. Luckily for Anri, she also had Higa as a psyker, so now she knows Izaya was behind everything, meeting Izaya for the first time and wanting to slash him. Izaya states that the reasons for his actions are because he loves people and wants to see the many faces mankind has. Unluckily, Izaya has the agility to dodge Anri's attacks with Sayaka while asking her questions, which annoys her even more. She explains that he didn't become Shizuo's rival by pretending to know how to fight, and that she made a mistake by returning the gun to him, but he'll not use it on her, instead aiming at random people. He also knew that Higa was a psyker, having plans to meet Anri through this transaction to declare war on her. On the way back to his place, Simon of all people punched Izaya square in the eye and called him a coward, which Izaya revels in. Simon explains that Saki called his business and told him everything about Izaya's plan because she loves Kita. Izaya sticks to his loving people reason for his actions, but Simon says he's just a Shizuo. He just has a Shizuo complex. He figures out that Nami called Harada and revealed to him that Mikado is the leader of the Dollars. To him, it's those moments when people like Simon and Shizuo shake up the entire game that makes him love people as a whole. Nami repeats to Izaya that she's sure humanity hates him. It's like, no one likes you. Get the hell out of the town. Kita recovers enough to talk to Saki again, but she already knows that Kita never visited her since she told him to contact Izaya again. She states that not much would have changed either way, but when he suddenly wakes up in the hospital bed. In a reversal of the usual, Saki is now the one standing in front of Kita, knowing about what happened from the van group, Mikado and Anri. Saki reveals that she got caught by the blue squares on purpose because Izaya told her it'd all stop if she did. Which, sort of right, I guess? Kita reveals he figured out that Saki was faking being unable to walk so Izaya could control him. He finally says he wasn't able to save her back then, but that he still loves her and not wanting to break up. Saki falls on him, calling him an idiot, and they both call back to each other's lines. Mikado's narration reveals the two disappeared together, notifying the school they were leaving. While life for Mikado, Anri, and Kita's social relationship has changed, nothing in the city has changed. Walker and Erica set about loading a cardboard standee of Selnia, Ori, Flameheart from Ladies vs. Butlers into the van. And Shizuo is still doing his violent throwing of objects while Izaya watches. And Celti and Shinra enjoy the sunny weather from their apartment. Celti changes her clothes into a bikini set, triggering Shinra's horniness for her. Only be surprised by the lack of reaction because she's actually trying to provoke him. Ah, nice. I do that as a joke, by the way. Anri wonders if she did love Kita and if that's why she feels so lonely. Unable to know because she doesn't understand. Mikado reinstates the Dollars website to say they'll be around like how a city exists if there are people in it. In the chat room, Mikado is interested to see they have a new person going by the name Bracula, and that they were invited by Kanra. Bracula states that they know Kanra personally, showing distaste for Kanra. And Mikado figures out that it's Kita, especially with their inside joke of square root of 3 points. Mikado says to Anri that Kita will definitely come back at some point, planning with her to pretend to be really mad at him when he does. And annoyingly, even though we're at the end of the main story, we still have a little bit more. We have one last episode to get through. This is OVA number 2 that takes place after the story. Celti asks the chat room what their plans are for tomorrow, since everyone has the day off. Mikado and Ari are going to see a movie and Kita is going to enjoy the day relaxing when Izaya joins to say someone announced they're going to kill Kazuka on the internet. Oh, sorry. Mentioning or killing someone makes me a bit sick, apparently. Little does Celti know their relaxing day is going to be anything but by the end of it. As by the end of it, one street is going to have more shrines more signs than it ever should. Kasuka is in Ikebukuro to find its number one couple to star in his next blockbuster, all while Simon is in the background representing himself with signs, always making sure to be in the shot. Kasuka's manager was the one to come up with this idea, declaring that this era is about love, but Kasuka doesn't seem excited by it. Celty is watching the live broadcast and asks Shinra about Kasuka, and is surprised to learn that Yuhei Hanajima is Shizuo's little brother. He even explains how to translate the first name, Yuhei Hanajima into Kasuka Heiwajima, but taking the first character, Hane, and reading it as Wa to make Yuhei Wajima before giving up to explain the second part of changing Yu into Kasuka. Shinra also knows that Izaya has two middle school sisters who are currently on the hunt for Kasuka's current location. Celty is surprised to see Seiji and Mika on the TV, mainly because Mika is bragging about her stalker skills, which annoys Nami because of her obsession for Seiji. The fan group also finally got a TV for their van, watching the broadcast while Erika references Ruji and Tiger from Toradora, and Walker references Sakura and Excalibur from Bludgeoning Angel Dokuro-chan. Man, reading is hard sometimes. Kasuka talks about the thought process people go through in preparing for a first date, which seems to be happening to Mikhail and Henri. Both of them are wondering if this is a date, despite not having talked about the history that entwines them when they're ambushed by Kasuka. Shinra wants to go out there to be on the broadcast, but then thinks that everyone will fall in love with Celty at first sight. Dude, not everything is about you and not about Celty. Although she is a dollar hand, so maybe. Shizuo is also there to make sure Kasuka is okay due to the death threat, but now he has to deal with Izuya's sisters, Kururi and Mairu, who are going to be important characters later on. Wanting nothing to do with them, Shizuo leaves them until Kururi figures out where Kasuka is by matching the building displaying Ruri Hijiribe's performance to Kasuka's filming location. Now that they know Kasuka's location, Shizuo picks them up by the hoodies to stop them from interrupting Kasuka's work, which currently has Mikado embarrassing himself on live TV. Calming himself, Mikado talks about Kita, who was watching the broadcast as well with Saki. The guy behind the death threat suddenly shows up, wanting Kasuka to give him his girlfriend back. But just as sudden as his arrival, his exit is as quick, courtesy of a KFC sign thrown by Shizuo. Just I don't know if that's what KFC wanted when they wanted advertisement, but okay. While Mikado prepared to protect Henri while she was about to attack Risaka, Shizuo picks up his annoying cargo and shoves them into a room, blocking the door with a vending machine. Izuya calls Shizuo to taunt him about having to deal with his sisters and Shizuo's love for his brother. Shizuo figures out that Izuya set up the entire situation himself, just for funsies. just for fun, who reveals he told the guy Kazuka's schedule. Izzy explains how he's planning to get out of town and go into hiding for a while, but before he does that, he has something to sell with Ikebukuro. Throwing a throwing knife at Shizuo, he catches it in his teeth and breaks it with pure biting strength. This guy has got muscles built into the teeth. The two of them fighting spills out into where the live broadcast is, which they quickly switch tone to focus on the fight. Mainly consisting of Izzy doing high stakes parkour while avoiding street poles and vending machines. Shizuo uses a no way sign to carve out a giant chunk of asphalt to fling at Izzy, which he dodges and uses to get on a roof, from which he throws 3 throwing knives to send a sign falling onto Shizuo. Erika makes a joke about the number one couple in Ikebukuro being Shizuo and Izzy. Others across the gang watching the broadcast see Shizuo and Izzy fighting and decide it's time to have their beef with Shizuo. Erika is enjoying the fight so much to the point that that Walker has to hold her down, referencing Otome Road, which is an actual road in Ikebukuro, also known as Maiden Road or Fujoshi Street for its yaoi content sold there. Nice. As for the fight, Shizuo is using the no way sign to block Izzy's throwing knives, only for Izzy to use one to cut down another street sign that Shizuo tanks with his head to toss at Izzy. Shizuo is literally built like a tank. Celty arrives to the fight at the same time as people from different gangs to confusion, while the film crew captures Celty on TV, which Shinra warned her against. However, the film crew and Kasuga are hijacked by Simon offering them food at Russia Sushi, which Kasuga just goes along with. It's like, I just got kidnapped to film something. With many street signs haphazardly in the ground, Izzy leads Shizuo on a chase, which ends with being hit by a moving truck. Shizuo manages to survive the run over though, throwing the truck away, accidentally throwing a street lamp into the crowd, and triggering a gang fight. The guy runs into Seiji, who punches him, and at the same time, Kururi and Maru had gotten out of the room they were locked in, and ended up in the area of the fight. Hiroshi charges right through the two innocent-looking girls, but doesn't expect Maru to handstand and kick him in the face, before swiftly taking out his friends by landing and kicking them. Landing or kicking them. Like, literally landing on them or kicking on them. She then front flips to Kururi to make sure she's okay. And kissing her in some in a sort of Yuri moment. It's like they're related, but they still do that. It's weird. Well, not weird. It's like, it's sort of a, huh. Okay. That's a thing. Celty gets mad. Celty gets so mad she uses her shadow abilities to spread a massive black area to stop the fighting, which the film crew treats as a monster mystery from a helicopter. Even though Celty captured everyone for the police, she still has to run from Kinosuke and his traffic cops, which the film crew also captures as a monster police chase. Everyone in the chat room says they were nearby what happened, except for Kita and Isaiah, and Celty repeats her warning about traffic cops. After everything has settled down, Mikado exits the train, only to run into a kid unsure of where to get to Durarara Academy. Experiencing a moment of deja vu, Mikado points the future student towards where Durarara is. And with that, they'll end part 2 of Durarara. Don't know why I forgot the name of the show for a moment there. Next time we'll be moving into Sho, which is part 1 of season 2 of Durarara. But for now, for YouTube, links will be in the description to both the channels and their Twitch figures. Go check out. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so the next video comes out. A ding. A ding. I'm Psycrafter. Psycrafter out.